All right, everyone, and thank you for joining us back here at the ever popular No Soundbites Allowed podcast. I am your host, Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, and we are on the Exceptional Conservative Network. And I hope you are enjoying it. I enjoy being here with you, so I'm very happy for everyone to be there. I also want to mention, of course, that on the 28th of April at 2 p.m., I will be speaking as a as one of the featured speakers at the Liberty Weekend that will be held at Binghamton University. This is being brought to you by the College Libertarians and College Republicans of Binghamton University. It's a great 2-day event. It starts on April 27th. There are going to be a lot of great speakers there. Larry Sharp, Dr. Giovanni Scaringi, and many, many others. I do advise it. By the way, if you are in Binghamton that weekend and you're around, please drop into my friends over at the Belmar Pub or have a meal over at the Park Diner. They're both friends of mine. This is not a paid advertisement. I just enjoy these locations. I know the owners, and I just want to give them a shout out. But definitely on April 28th at 2 p.m., if you are in the region, please drop on by. It is open to the public, open to the press, and I will be speaking about the Second Amendment, red flags, a lot of the things that are going on, and I'll be having that speech, and there will be a question and answer period after I'm done speaking. So I look forward to this opportunity, and I hope you join us there and have the conversation with us. Now, as we were saying before, we were talking about what's going on with the aggravation of, I imagine, that many rank and file members must have with their representatives when they go out and they're absolutely deceptive. When, like with Ted Lieu, we see that representatives have gone out there, and shame on him. And when I say shame, I mean Game of Thrones shame on Representative Ted Lieu for going out there and actively deceiving the public, actively propagandizing just to make a cheap political point, and then running away from Candace Owens and allowing her the opportunity to speak to what he had done, the edits that he had made in what she had to say. And again, you can see that at C-SPAN. We also covered it earlier this week, and you can go to our YouTube page and be able to see that. So but moving on, because this is related to another issue. And I have to, again, believe that many rank and file members of the Democratic Party, and I'm a Republican, and if it happens in the Republican Party, I would say the same thing. I think conservatives, libertarians, everybody would say the same thing, that we expect a couple of things from our members of Congress, from elected officials, that they're going to be consistent, that when they say something, they're going to stand by what they say. And that's not normally the case. We see all too often they don't do that. They don't even come close to that. And I don't care if you're talking about a Democrat, Libertarian, it doesn't matter what party. We see a lot of people who do this. But in particular, I want to point out one of the most ludicrous things that I have seen yet. You've probably heard by now, it just came out on Friday, the news really started coming out on Friday, that the President Trump and his administration had considered in 2018 to take the illegal immigrants who are entering the country. Yes, they're not undocumented. The document they're missing is any authorization or right to be in the United States. They are actively breaking U.S. law. They are criminals. They are illegal aliens. Don't try and make it nice by saying that they're just, undocumented. That's just cheapening the whole situation. That's a dodge. You're avoiding the point and the issue. So these illegal aliens that have come into the nation, millions of them, thousands at a time. Well, one of the things, and we're at the breaking point on the border, we've already heard that in March. What can we do? Well, one of the suggestions by the Trump administration was, why don't we send those illegal immigrants to the sanctuary cities that have said that they want them? that they want the open borders. They want illegal aliens. They want them there without any crimes. They won't prosecute them. They want them to run across their cities rampantly because that's the consequence of violating the law. These are individuals and cities that have directly said they want to break the law. And so, as we see with the New York Times, and I want to get specifically into this one point, but in the article from the New York Times, which was published on April 12th, it states that Trump says he is considering releasing migrants, which is not what they are. They're not migrants. They're illegal aliens in sanctuary cities. So the actual title of the New York Times piece from April 12th is Trump says he is considering releasing migrants in sanctuary cities. Now, just from the title, you can tell that Eileen Sullivan and the New York Times has a bias. They have a very strong bias because we're not talking about migrants. If we were talking about migrants, we would be talking about legal citizens. And you can't force, or someone who's legally allowed into the United States. And we don't restrict the movements of people who are legally inside the United States. U.S. citizens can travel anywhere they want. People with green cards and proper authorization can travel throughout the United States. You're not restricted on that. So they're not migrants. These are illegal aliens. They crossed the border or otherwise entered the nation without authorization. You're being lied to. The New York Times is, again, just like Ted Lieu, they are propagandizing. Like Representative Lieu, who also happens to be from California, they are actively lying to you. They're propagandizing. They're using a word that has absolutely no context and is misrepresentation. And that's the sad thing. New York Times, all the news that's fit to print, except that the news isn't actually correct. It's not all the correct information. But let me not get sidetracked there. So in this article, which is basically saying that Trump is a bad guy for deciding that the illegal aliens are, if they come into the nation, that they shouldn't be sent to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. In fact, the article goes on to say, quote, Democratic lawmakers do not want open borders. Okay, I don't think anyone agrees with that. I don't think there is anyone in America at this time who has been watching the news over the last decade, if not 3, that wouldn't say, yes, Democrats do want open borders. In fact, we'll go into it. But yes, they've made it very clear they want open borders. And I'll prove that in a moment. But the article goes on. So Democratic lawyers, quote, Democratic lawyers do not want open borders as the president has suggested. They favor improving border security, but they do not support many of Mr. Trump's hardline immigration policy proposals, such as building a wall along the southwestern border. Quote, and I continue the quote, last year, Trump administration officials have floated the idea of transporting migrants to sanctuary cities which do not strictly adhere to federal immigration law as a way to address the inflow of migrants crossing the border with Mexico. Okay, let's go full stop here. So what they have just said is that this is something that was a proposal from last year. It did not happen. Okay, so it's not really news. It's over a year old and it didn't happen. But they need something because the media is embarrassed by the fact that they were proven wrong on collusion. They need something to attack President Trump with because the 33 or more Democratic hopefuls for the 2020 nomination, they don't really resonate with the public. No one really cares about any of them. Besides the fact that there's too many, none of them stand out. They all are saying the same thing. So they need something. And the economy is good. Jobs are good. Unemployment for blacks, for women are at all-time lows. Hispanics as well. They need something. And since they don't have collusion anymore, And since the Mueller report and the Barr investigation are going against them, and Barr is looking to investigate Democrats for what has been shown and what evidence does link them to both collusion and rigging of elections, like Bernie Sanders was rigged so that he couldn't possibly win, no matter what the voters thought, what Democrats thought. So since that evidence is coming out and it's irrefutable, they need something. So they found a story from a year ago on immigration that didn't happen, and they're trying to pose this as, well, this is what President Trump is doing now. And he's about to, oh my God, he's going to take migrants, which they are not, and move them. This is like concentration camps. No, it's not. It's not even close. That's stupid. That is a stupid analogy. And anyone who makes that analogy does not understand, one, history about what happened with concentration camps and what the Nazis did. And two, there's nothing like the evil of the Nazis involved here. So you're overinflating the nature of the situation. Three, they're not migrants. They're not legally in the United States. They didn't just cross the border. They crossed the border illegally. A key term that is a legal definition. It is a fact. You cannot leave that out, although the New York Times did. And in leaving it out, you leave out context, you leave out the facts, and therefore you're focusing on people's emotions. And that's the saddest thing. And I say this all the time. We have to be aware of the emotions that are being used to manipulate the politics that are guiding our country. And the Democratic Party and many in the news media want you to be emotionally attached to this. They want you to feel, oh, what is it Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said? That feelings are more important than facts. She wants to feel morally right, whether or not the facts are correct, which is stupid, which is absolutely stupid and absolutely incorrect. But that's what the New York Times is doing here. They want you to think of them as migrants, even though they are illegal aliens. They have broken the law. They want you to feel like they're being moved around in cattle cars. It's the worst image you could possibly have. That's not true. So there's the situation. So let's actually think about this for a second. We have illegal aliens have come into the nation, whatever they're claiming, asylum. They're just trying to be here. They got kids. Maybe they don't. Whether those kids are theirs or not doesn't matter. So they're in the nation. We have them, and we have to, and because of the laws that have been put in place by Democrats themselves, we have to release them. Okay, we have to let them go into the general public and hope that one day they may actually show up into a courtroom, which I think the number is about 3% of them actually do show up for their meetings. The rest just disappear into the nation. And I may be wrong on that number, but I believe it's 3%. So what do we do? Normally, the border towns, the cities and towns along the border become overwhelmed by all these inflow of individuals who are then applying for government aid and trying to insinuate themselves into the nation. Why not, and here's the suggestion that was made, why not give them the opportunity to go to the places that want them? And when I say that they want them, we have heard about the sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities and states and counties throughout the United States that absolutely break the law. In fact, and I'm looking at Wikipedia, which has a source on this, the Federation for American Immigration Reform estimates that in 2018, that more than 500 U.S. jurisdictions, including states, municipalities, had adopted sanctuary policies, which means they break the law. Okay? When we hear that a city or a state has adopted sanctuary policies, that means they broke the law, because it is illegal to not hand over illegal immigrants to ICE, to notify the federal authorities, to have them deported, because they broke our law. So since there are over 500 of these cities and states that say, hey, we don't care if you broke this law. We selectively are choosing which laws to follow. So why don't, we love you. We're not going to keep you here because it's great. You selectively are choosing to break one of our laws. We selectively choose not to enforce laws. So come on down. By the way, I have yet to hear anyone say that they selectively are okay with murder. If you can select laws, if you can pick and choose laws that you want to follow, then murder, robbery, rape, what crime is not, is an absolute. If you can pick and choose which laws you wish to enforce, which ones are the ones that you must enforce? Because if it's random at that point, if it's arbitrary, if it's up to you to choose, then you have anarchy because there are no laws at that point. And that's one of the big problems behind all of this. This is one of the undercurrents. When you say it's not a crime to do something that is a well-defined crime, then you don't have laws. And people can do anything they want. And they will pick and choose whatever it is that they want to do and follow at any given time. And that is a major problem. But going beyond that. So President Trump says, here, we're going to give them to them. And the answer and the response that has come from them, and I just want to highlight a couple of them very quickly here, is looking at Gavin Newsome, who is the governor of California. He's the mayor of San Francisco. Gavin Newsome says that Trump's proposal to release immigrants into sanctuary cities is, quote, asinine, end quote. That is the title from CBS News on April 12th at 5:26 p.m. Really? Really, Mr. Newsome? Are you sure about that? And he goes on to say that it's illegal, asinine, and sophomoric. Sophomoric? I mean, really, here's what Gavin Newsome quoted by the news here. And this is, again, it's being quoted by CBS News as of the 12th. He says that he believes it is, and I'm looking for the quote. Here it is. It is ludicrous. It's petulant. I have a 7-year-old. He would be embarrassed. It really is the sophistry of adolescence, not serious. It lacks any rationale. It's insulting to American people and to the intelligence of the American people. It is un-American. It is illegal. It's immoral. It's rather pathetic. I don't know what more I can say. Actually, you can say a lot of things, Gavin Newsom. And one of the things you can say is, it is moral. It has a great rationale. Gavin Newsom runs San Francisco, which is a sanctuary city. If you are willing to violate the law, if you are willing to ignore the law, and you are saying that you want illegal aliens in your city and you are unwilling to prosecute them for the law, then why not send them somewhere that is friendly to them? You can send them to a couple of cities in the middle of Texas or Montana or Arkansas where people are not willing to forgive the law, and when they find out that they are illegal aliens, try to get them deported. Or you can send them to somewhere where they're friendly and say, hey, you can commit crimes and we're okay with that. Which one do you think is going to be a friendlier place? There's your rationale. There's your morality. And it is very American because Americans follow the law. And it is fair to say that there is a line of millions of people waiting to get into America. So why not follow the law? Why not respect the millions of people who are trying to get into this nation on a line in various countries, some of them under fire? I don't understand why we should be more happy to take in illegal aliens that come across the border in Mexico than the hundreds, if not thousands of, and tens of thousands of Christians in in Nigeria that are being killed because they have their religion. Or the people of Darfur who have been killed for decades. It's a genocide. It is a UN recognized genocide. And why do they not have the same priority as illegal aliens? Because these guys came from the South? Because they're able to vote? Because they want to give them the right to vote? What, Mr. Newsome, gives these illegal aliens that broke the law and don't care the right to have priority over people who are dying, who are being actively killed? Why is that un-American to say, I want to save the people who are being killed in other nations because of their religion and give them refuge, than someone who just said, hey, I don't care what your laws, I'm just going to do what I want to do? I'm sorry. How is that sophomoric? Please explain that, Mr. Newsome. He can't. And I think it was, I think I have an image of this too that I wanted to use for this. And of course I can't find it. Nope, I can't find it. I'll get it later. With Nancy Pelosi, who also has decided that she doesn't want to go and say anything about this. Nancy Pelosi is against this. How dare the president go out there and say that we should take in illegal aliens? I notice all of these Democrats are out there and they're busy saying, you know, how dare you give us illegal aliens that we believe should have the right to have free college? These illegal aliens that should not have ICE against them. These illegal aliens that we are actively breaking the law for. Really? Really? It's incredible. And in case you wondered, you know, who are the Democrats? When Democrats say, oh, no, the New York Times says that, no, Democrats don't want to have the border. Well, this is from the Washington Examiner from June 27th of 2018, stating the new guard of the Democratic Party absolutely supports open borders. Oh, really? Who could they be talking about? What Democrats could they be talking about? Well, they're talking about Keith Ellison, who is a former representative of Minnesota. He's a Democrat, and he was the number 2 Democrat in the party. And somehow he got reelected, even though he was accused of abusing a woman with evidence. And Democrats seem to not be worried about that, even though they say believe the woman. Cynthia Nixon, who made a huge challenge against Governor Andrew Cuomo from the far left, and she was a massive advocate of open borders. What about, yes, our favorite, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC herself? And she is very active and very adamant about the fact that she believes in open borders. To this day, she still says that all the time. So when I hear Democrats, when I hear the New York Times say, oh, no, you're just misunderstanding it, that's not correct. Yeah, it is. We've heard high-ranking members of the Democratic Party say over and over again that they absolutely believe in open borders. And you may say, well, that was back in 2018. Yes, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's saying it now, but that doesn't mean that it's still true. Really? Okay, you know what? Let's say that you're right, except Beto O'Rourke, that's right, the fake Mexican, Robert O'Rourke, who is so embarrassed about being white, he goes by a fake Hispanic name rather than just living his own life. On February 14th of 2019, this year, Valentine's Day, was talking about how he absolutely wants to take down the wall, the border wall that already exists in El Paso, Texas, that he wants to take it down. This man is running for president on the Democratic side. He's considered a front runner of the Democrats. And he's talking about breaking down the wall. And I believe there were comments by Kamala Harris, another front runner for the Democratic Party, in trying to break down the walls. Yeah, they believe in open borders. They believe in breaking down the wall and allowing illegal immigrants into the nation willy-nilly. And that is not new. Listen to the Democratic Socialists. If you go to any of the college campuses, and I do, and speak to the students, as I have, there is a major push for open borders, that they don't believe borders exist. Louder with Crowder has conversations with these kids all the time. And we have their presidential candidates saying this, and members of Congress currently active saying this. We've had former top elite members of the Democratic Party say this on a regular basis. Nancy Pelosi is now saying, well, you can't do that. That's just illegal. You can't just send these illegal aliens to us. Why not? Didn't you ask for them? You're fighting for them. In New York State, Governor Cuomo, the Democratic Assembly, has decided to give illegal aliens free college. Spent $27 million of taxpayer money. Mind you, we're already $2 billion in debt in New York State. $2 billion in debt in New York State because the policies or the restrictions of both taxes and freedom in New York State are so extreme, people are running out of New York State. For 4 years in a row, the number one state to leave is New York State. And they're trying to fix that by inviting in illegal aliens by giving them free college and charging New York State residents an extra $27 million. And yeah, that's not a lot considering our budget, but still, $27 million in taxes are being charged to give them free college that is not being given to actual citizens. They won't give a dime to the Gold Star families. Really? Gold Star families don't get a dime from New York State. And they actively said they won't give them a dime. But if you're an illegal alien, you get to have free college. I'm sorry, that's wrong. And when we have that environment, and you're telling me that they will not prosecute, they will not enforce the law as it exists, but they are willing to give them free stuff, and you say, well, that's not an open border, that's not welcoming illegal aliens, and you say, well, I don't want those illegal aliens, then why are you advertising for them? Because quite honestly, if I'm promising you I'm going to give you free stuff, and I'm telling you you can break the law and you won't be held accountable, that's an incentive program. That's a reward program. How do you tell me that it's not a reward when you are rewarding bad behavior, where you are actively giving people things for doing the wrong thing? Does President Trump have it right? I think so. I don't know. Maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you think, well, that's just immoral somehow. I would love to hear why it's immoral to send illegal aliens to places that want to give them rewards. Please, you tell me. But we're going to take another quick break, and then we'll be back, and then we'll continue the program. I'm going to take a quick break with this.